that pretty much wraps it up for my end of the session. And it brings me through to introducing our guest speaker tonight. Here's Andrew Carter from Global Publishing Group. Some of you will know Andrew. He has been on the show before, a good mate of mine as well too. And he is here tonight to talk about AI and some caveats around AI. So there's some things that you should do, some things that you shouldn't do in business. In fact, some of what people are doing in business, it really is destroying some of their, what they've worked for in business. So Andrew's going to talk to us about these AI tools, what to do, what not to do. For those that don't know Andrew, as I say, he is the CEO of the Global Publishing Group. If you're not sure who they are, they were an organisation behind marketing Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, that book there in Australia. So I think a lot of people have heard of that book, but that's not the only book they published. They are probably the most well-known publisher of business books in Australia. They're an entrepreneurial publisher, which is different to a lot of other publishers out there, in that they only really deal in this style of book. So Andrew started his career as a pilot. Well, people like me were racing around in motor cars and hotting up engines in motor cars and being pulled over and ticketed by people that in blue uniforms. Andrew was well away from all that there. He was in the skies where there were no police in the skies, and he was enjoying spending all of his money sort of filling up aeroplanes and flying those. But he did that, got a career in aviation, and sort of flew professionally for quite some years. And then when he left that there, he's got an entrepreneurial bent. He is a business owner, and he built a business there using some pretty clever marketing strategies. In fact, they're not that clever. He would just happen to be the one that implemented them while everyone else was not implementing them. And that allowed him to sell his business and retire at the ripe old age of 37. So from that time, he has been a business mentor, business coach, philanthropist. He's a public speaker, and now the CEO of the Global Publishing Group. A couple of fun facts about Andrew is that he loves building aeroplanes. So you'll often see him in his garage constructing or reconstructing old aeroplanes from the past. He has an aviation museum. They set up probably the most unique aviation museum in Australia, and that attracts visitors from around the world. But that's a little known fact about Andrew. Most of the time he spends with people like you, helping you to become best selling authors. So tonight he is going to talk about AI. AI is taking the world by storm at the moment, and he's got some really interesting insights on it. So let's put your hands together and give Andrew a virtual welcome to the stage.
Thank you very much, Nick. Thanks, everyone. And after that very lengthy introduction, Nick, I think we're finished. I don't think we've got time for anything else. So thank you.
We'll see you later, everyone.
Yeah. I noticed someone managed to get a song out during that time you were doing that too. So well done to that guy.
Oh, they did too.
So look, thank you, mate. Thanks, everyone. And look, yep, as you said, I have had an extensive business background. I am an author. I've published 5 books. This is the latest one, Authority, Influencer Marketing Made Simple. A #1 secret to stand out and dominate in any crowded marketplace in any industry, anytime. And so I'm here to talk to you tonight about the number of tips and techniques for helping all business owners. Doesn't matter what business you're in, but I want to cover in depth the #1 single best lead generation tool for you and your business, bar none, that will have you stand out so completely and transform your business and create massive growth in it. And I mean this, that this will create more than any other strategy out there. Now, I'm looking around. I've seen, as Nick said, there's quite a few familiar faces on this webinar. A few of you have heard me talk before. You may have seen the start of this presentation before. And please just stick with us, because I do need to cover this again in some depth for those who haven't seen it. But what it's going to do is it's going to lead us into far more depth conversation than I've ever had before about AI tools for you and how to use them. And I'm going to do that in 2 separate blocks. And as Nick said at the start of this, the problem is AI promises so much, but it actually, the reality is it doesn't deliver everything yet. It's on its way, it's going to. But used incorrectly, this is really causing a lot of problems for a lot of businesses and major companies and major banks. We'll talk about that. So there are dangers associated with it. I want to steer you away from that, and I want to show you how to create content for your business quickly and easily. Now, I'm only going to cover certain tools. That's not to say they're the only ones you can use. Nick covers ones regularly on these calls. Every Tuesday, you should be paying attention to what he's got and working out what suits you best. But every time I talk about AI, during the middle of this webinar, we'll go into a really big caveat, the really big warning you need to be aware of at all times, okay? So ChatGPT is being sprouted as the answer to all your problems. I'm telling you now, it just isn't. It's actually the cause of quite a few. There are some real limitations around using AI, so it's important to know what they are, what to do about it, and how to use it to help you in your business rather than have it destroy your credibility or your business, which has definitely happened. So this talk tonight is about showing you how to make far more money with one single tool than just about anyone else is even aware of, yet alone teaching. And this is not pie in the sky figures that only a few can achieve, okay? This is easily doable if you follow and implement what I show you, and we'll talk about some examples as we go through it. And as I said at the start, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. It doesn't matter if you're a purely online business, if you're a service-based business, if you're selling products from a store, it doesn't matter. Like even just for an online influencer, this is going to work, and it is the single most important tool you can implement in your business. So as I say, a lot to cover. I want to get through it really quickly because of the time constraint. So thank you, Nick, for taking up so much of that valuable time with the introduction. So if you guys have any questions, put them in the chat box, because the chances are as I go through this, I will have answered them anyway. But if we don't, we'll get to the end. And I'm not going to be able to go into a whole lot of detail of what I know. So if we've got time at the end and you want more detail on anything, I'm certainly more than happy to share it then, okay? So look, this marketing tool, every business needs, but so few will ever actually do. And I'm going to share my screen and show you what that is. And this marketing tool has been used by all the greats that you can think of. Tony Robbins, Russell Brunson, Robert Kiyosaki, Bob Proctor, Brian Tracy, any of those big names you can think of have all done the technique I'm going to show you now. But now thousands of regular business owners just like you are doing it, and it works for them. And I'm going to show some examples in this so you can see it would work for you also. So the point is, what is it that made these guys be seen as the authority? Why do people associate them being the authority? Well, to become an authority, first they actually had to become an author. Now, at this stage, I'll lose most people. Most business owners just tune off now because they think, well, that's just not going to work for me. That's way too hard. It's going to take way too long. It can't help my business, or I'm a purely online business. Writing a book's not going to help me. Believe it or not, this can be done quickly and simply, more so now than at any other time, even if you can't type or write. And it's the single greatest strategy to gain people's attention, build trust and credibility, and drive the traffic you get from offline to your website. And this is the problem. Everyone thinks all the marketing's got to be done online, but people live offline. We live in the real world. That's where you want to capture their attention, build the trust, and then drive them to online, okay? So what I want to cover here is why a book is so powerful for you and your business, and it's all to do with people's perception. Because the perception in society is that people have to become experts to then be able to write a book. But that's just not the case. You see, all the experts I've dealt with, both here and overseas, actually wrote the book first based on what they already knew, were then perceived as the expert because they'd written a book. And that's what attracted the huge following they got. And as a result of that, they then created the products and services they sell. Now, I know that sounds ass backwards, but this is the classic example of working smarter, not harder. And this is why these guys have been so successful. So you need to establish yourself as a go-to authority or expert in your field. You need to be seen as one, because when people perceive you as a go-to authority or an expert in a certain field, they actively pursue you to purchase your products, services, and in fact, they will pay more for it. And you know this to be true. You have done this yourself. We all know the old adage, you know, pay cheap, pay twice. When you've got a real problem, when you're trying to sort something out, you'd rather go to the expert, the authority on it, and get the problem sorted, okay? That's just the way human beings are wired. To sell your products and services, you've just got to be able to do two things. The first one, the most important one, is gain attention. And how many on this call know that it's harder now than at any other time to gain attention? You've got to let people know that you exist, and then you've got to let them know what you're selling. And we're still in this mindset that once I start my business, I get a business name, and I set up a website, I'll place an ad, and I'll post on some social media, I'm going to capture people's attention and make lots of sales. Well, how? The market is saturated, online and offline. It's just so hard to get noticed now, okay? So if you do any of those things, any of those just posting on social media or whatever, you just become another Me Too business. You're just another one of millions of businesses all doing the same thing. And as a result, you get lost in a sea of mediocrity. That's why you're not getting noticed. So you've got to do something that will really make you stand out from the crowd, something that will attract people's attention. And then once you've got that attention, once you've attracted the ideal client, you then need to build trust. Because let's face it, all of us are reluctant to purchase goods or services because of a lack of trust, right? Every single one of us on this call has been burnt before. None of us want to be so again. So trust becomes the single biggest barrier to making a sale after you've gained a prospect's attention. And people like to buy from people they trust. You know that, you're the same. But you know that building that trust usually takes a very long time. And if you've ever used traditional sales funnels, or you've ever followed the traditional mantra, and I used to preach this, almost 20 years ago, we'd say that through a funnel, you'd actually need to give a customer something of free to get their attention. And then you need about 7 touch points. You need to give advice or value or something for free 7 times before they trusted you enough to purchase that from you. The latest statistics we've got from the studies done and we all concluded by the end of 2022, so end of last year, they're now saying it takes between 17 and 21 touch points to be able to get people to trust you now. That's how, we've all been burnt so many times. It's become quicker and easier to get burnt. We've got less and less trust, and with more scams out there, it's now getting harder to get people to trust you. Well, the book does away with all of that, okay? You don't need those many touch points. A book is the #1 builder of trust and credibility. There is simply nothing else like it. Why? Because being an author ranks in the top 10% of professions in terms of prestige. Think about that, okay? We hold certain professions in high esteem, and as a result of that, we automatically tend to trust those sort of people. Being an author ranks in the top 10% of professions in terms of prestige. Authors are held in high esteem. They are trusted, as is their written message. And a large part of that comes from people believing it's difficult to write and be published, I guess. And of course it is, unless you have something like this, what I'm going through tonight, to show you the simple tips and techniques to get it done quickly and easily, even if you can't type or write. So, authors have always been highly respected. Society has always looked at published authors as experts in their field, as the authority. So when you're published, you automatically assume that mantle in your field. You don't have to go around stating that you're an expert or that you're credible. The book does that for you. The book actually acts as a third-party independent advocate of you and your business. So you never have to go around saying, I'm the expert, because let's face it, in this country, that only does damage to you anyway. Merely being the author of the book on the subject, the perception is that you must be. Now, the caveat to all of this, of course, is that it appeals to, this is referring to a physical book, a published book, a printed book, one that you can actually physically hold in your hand and show people. You can't gain any real credibility with an ebook, and you're not ever going to get noticed, let alone obtain celebrity or expert authority status with one. It has to be a printed book. And I have to stop now because this is the point I get the most objection every single time. Oh, but Andrew, I know such and such who's doing really well with ebooks. Yep. Hey, I'm in the game. I know plenty of people who've done well with ebooks. I know people have done 7 figures with ebooks. I'm currently dealing with a company in the States who are using an ebook as a lead generation tool, and they're doing 6 figures a month with that. But here's the point. Yes, ebooks certainly have a place, and I certainly teach that, and I'll tell you a lot of things about that. And as a back-end product, we'll show you ways to create that. But I'm talking about gaining attention, building trust and credibility. And the only way to do that is with a physical book. And here's the example I always like to give. You're watching a morning or an evening TV interview show. The host is on, he's bringing on his next guest. And he or she always says, and here's our next guest, so-and-so, the author of such and such a book, and they physically hold the book up to the camera, or they have the book positioned on the desktop and the camera zooms in on it. Never, ever has it ever happened where they said, and here's so-and-so, author of an ebook. And then just, what do? There's nothing to show, okay? There's no credibility associated with that. So that's why I say this. So the next objection that people bring up is, well, Andrew, you don't understand. Everything's going online. The printed book is dead. Well, believe it or not, that was the big cry back in 2008 till 2011. And in 2011, something interesting happened. The demand for physical books increased year on year since 2011. Not only is the printed book not dead, it's actually going through a resurgence. More are being printed and read now than in any other time in history. And the statistics have remained pretty much constant over the last 12 to 15 years. About 88% of all books are real physical books. Ebooks and audio books make up the remaining 12%. Now, the interesting point on that statistic is that about the majority of that 12% are actually ebooks or audio books of already physical printed books. Anyway, I've just got to give you that basic background, because today we want to talk about how to use technology to create the content for one that's going to establish you as a go-to authority, and how to do it in just a few hours. And the point here is that positioning yourself as the authority makes your competition effectively irrelevant. And I want you to really take notice of this slide. If there's only one thing you're going to take away from tonight, it should be this. This is what dramatically changes your success in business. So look, regardless of what business you're in, as I say, it doesn't matter. Online, offline, goods or services, bricks and mortar, doesn't matter. You need a physical book to create your credibility and personal brand awareness and grab attention and be seen as the go-to authority. And then you use that to drive traffic to your online site. Now, here's the truly beautiful part. When someone reads your book, you then have their attention completely and for at least a few hours. Look, I understand it's not all at once. You know, you get interrupted, or you got to answer the phone, or go make a coffee, or talk to the kids, or kick the dog, or whatever. But once someone finishes your book, they've effectively had a one-on-one session with you, the author, for a few hours. And what has effectively happened is that you, the author, have just spent several hours with this person, building credibility and trust, and positioning yourself as the authority. You're showing them that you have this knowledge, that you're some sort of expert. And you've done it all without ever having to leave your home. You've done it without picking up a phone and making a cold call. You've done it without having to spend a single minute with that person. It's the ultimate form of leveraging your time. I've literally not come across anything else like it. So now I want to look at how to create this authority marketing tool for you quickly and easily. And of course, there are a lot of myths and misconceptions about completing a book. And I like that. I think that's a great thing, because the general public, or more importantly, your potential customers or clients, they think this way. And that's why they respect authors and perceive them to be so capable and credible. And that works in your favor. So let me dispel the myth for you now, so we can concentrate on you creating your own authority marketing book. And of course, the first myth is it takes a long time to write a book. This is the single biggest reason why so few ever even attempt this. It just seems such a daunting task. Hey, I get it. And we're all busy, especially business owners. We just don't have the time to sit down and write a book over 6 months or a year or whatever. And look, I agree. But here's the thing, and hopefully the reason you've joined me, you don't have to write it. And you only need a few hours to complete it. So it does not take a long time to do this anymore. We have so many tools available today, like, you know, in the last few months, that we never had available to us before. Knowing which ones to use and how means you can complete a high quality authority positioning book in as little as a few hours. Literally everyone on this call, that's not just a boast. And you can do it without ever having to pick up a pen or type on a keyboard. And so when I say all that, all of you already primed, you already know what I'm talking about. AI, right? Artificial intelligence, clever robots. When we get into this, we'll talk about the fact that it is artificial, it's not intelligent. But anyway, whenever we're talking about AI, everyone just assumes we're talking about ChatGPT. ChatGPT has been a phenomenal tool. It's got a long way to go, but it's getting there very, very quickly. The free version's 3.5, the paid version's version 4. It's an exponential increase on the version before it. They're working on version 5, which is an exponential increase again. So this is going to be something phenomenal, but it does have some limitations. Now, we do not use this when we're writing a book, all right? When we're writing an authority marketing book, when we're trying to position ourselves as the authority, when we're trying to build trust and credibility, no, do not use ChatGPT. So that's the very first warning. There's a lot of strengths. We'll talk about how to use ChatGPT to assist you, but we do not use it for writing a book. ChatGPT actually even has a plugin, and you can put the plugin in for writing a book. I know someone on this call who's actually used it. If you've got access to it, I'd actually encourage you to use it, and you will be completely underwhelmed by it. We're going to talk about the prompts and what's required to set ChatGPT up. I'm going to show you how to use AI to create a marketing tool in just a few hours. To use ChatGPT properly to get the book you sort of want, it's going to take you probably 10 to 12 hours of setting it up. Admittedly, once you hit enter, it will produce the end result very, very quickly. But the whole point about AI is it's bland and it's generic. Okay, it's not going to give you specifically what you want. It's not going to make you stand out from the crowd, and that's the whole point. So do not use ChatGPT at this point. So what are you going to do? I need you to think about what information you want to give the reader of your book, and how you're going to do that is by determining who is the ideal reader, who is the target audience, who is the person that you're trying to attract. Because what we want to do, unlike whatever you may have been thinking about previously, maybe you just read a book, you think, well, that was interesting, and you put it down, never to come back to it. No, we're trying to attract your ideal client, and at the end of the book, we're going to get them to take action. Now, we're going to talk about what some of that action is later, but in this immediate response, it's just to get them to go onto your website and purchase more of the products or services you're already selling. So you know who your ideal client is, or you should. If you don't, make sure that's number one. Sit down and work that out. You may use ChatGPT to help you with that. We can talk about that later. What you're going to do is you're going to start with an introduction. You need to give a very brief reason as to who you are and why you're able to write this book, and what the what the reader is going to get out of it. That's the important thing. You're not writing the book for you, you're writing it for the reader. That's the introduction. As I said, the end, you know what you want. You want them to take action. You want them to buy more of your products or services. So you want to drive them to a website. I know the beginning, I know the end. What are the logical steps to get from beginning to end? Write those logical steps down. Write them each step at the top of an A4 piece of paper. And then under that step, what are the bullet points? Just write down bullet points you would need to cover to talk about that step and move logically on to the next step. Each of those steps is actually your chapter heading, and each of those bullet points is what needs to be covered in that chapter. So now you just pick up that piece of A4 paper and you simply start reading. Read out the chapter heading and start talking through those bullet points. You can do this on your phone, you can do this on your tablet, you can do this on your computer. Any way you've got to record, and or you don't even have to hit record. If you've got what I use, Otter AI, you can have this transcribed in real time. We'll talk about that in a minute. The point here, try not to exceed 150 pages. Now, this is really, really important. We know we've been tracking this for the last 15 years, and I can tell you for a fact, a statistical fact, if your book is more, we're talking about how-to books here, okay? How to help someone do something. This is a non-fiction book only. This does not apply to fiction books. In the non-fiction how-to type segment, if your book is more than 180 pages, less people, significantly less people buy it. Now, if it's more than 150 pages, less people finish reading it. So more people will buy it, but they won't finish reading it. And you need people to finish reading your book, because only then are they going to recommend it to others or pass on their copy to a friend, or most importantly, take the action we're trying to get them to take. So the optimum is 150 pages, which works out to 30,000 words. Now, given the normal rate of speech, which is considerably slower than I'm talking now, but I've got a lot to get through, about 180 words a minute is the normal rate of speech. So if you do the maths, that works out to, you can talk 30,000 words in 2 hours and 47 minutes. Now, that's an old photo. She's holding a dictaphone. Believe it or not, that's actually how, probably can't see because of the blur, but that's how I did my first book, Rhino Retailers, 15 years ago, talking into a dictaphone and sending it off to having it transcribed. Okay, don't do that anymore. You can use an audio to text transcription app for efficiency. And I used to say, or have someone transcribe it for you. Don't, because these days they are running it through Otter.ai. So you're paying someone to do what you could do yourself. So if you've got a pen, this is the one to write down, Otter.ai. This is the AI at this stage that I'm encouraging you to use, because this is what's going to give the most personable content. It's going to be created in the quickest time. It's going to be in your voice. So it's not going to be generic AI text. It's not going to be non-specific. It's not going to be general in nature. It's going to be very specific, and it's going to be written in the way you talk. And this is incredibly important. So Otter.ai. Now, are there other transcription services out there? Yes, there are. I'm going to show you those. Please don't bother writing them down. I'll tell you why at the end. The best transcribing programs for audio, video to text are Descript, ExpressScribe, InkScribe, Otter, Rev, Sonics, SpeedScribe, Temi, and Trint. And the reason I'm saying don't write them down is because only Otter, Temi, and Trint offer you mobile applications, and you will want and use those at some stage. But as I understand it, Otter's the only one that still gives a free introductory service. And that introductory service is about 30,000 words. So you could actually get your first book written without having to pay for anything. And I think it's a great way to try it. It's not 100% accurate, but none of them are. If you give yourself the best advantage, be in a quiet room and close to the computer or the phone, whatever you've got it on, it's very effective. I find it quite useful. This is Ian Marsh. I'm sure a lot of people on this call know him. You've probably seen him. He created his book, The Inconvenient Truth About Business Success, in exactly this way, back in the days of dictaphone. So he merely recorded his thoughts with each chapter, and then he had it transcribed, and the publisher, us, did the rest. Now, it was designed to attract high-end clients. So he knew who his ideal person was, and he was going to drive them into a high-end product. He knows how many people have bought into this. He knows the value of each of those clients. And he's told me personally that this book that he created in half a day, that he did not physically type or write, has generated over $600,000 for his business. So think about that. You've all got a preconceived idea about what it takes to write a book. Now, I've just shown you a quick way to do it. I did it this way. This guy did it this way. And here he is. He hasn't typed a book. He hasn't written a book. And in half a day, he's created all the content for one. He's made over $600,000 for it. Could you do it? Definitely can do the same. Now, as I say, talking your book is important. You want to reach the widest audience, right? The most amount of people. So you want to aim your language as if you're conversing with a 15-year-old, and just talk the way you normally talk and let your sense of humor and personality come through, because that's what the reader connects with. And that's what actually builds the bond of trust between the reader and author. Are you starting to get, can you see AI itself can't do that, but we've got AI tools that can take what we do and process it. Well, this is going off track a little bit, but just I'll talk about this as well. People say to me, do I need a forward for my book? It all depends. If you can be strategic about it, I'd say yes. Generally, no, you don't need a forward, but if you can get the right person to write it for you, and this is something we teach authors how to approach these people, what sort of script they need, how to even give them a sample to get it written the way they want it, etc., etc. Now, this is Tracy Stranger. She was off our very, very first course back in 2008, and here she is presenting her book to the Dalai Lama when he visited in Melbourne, because she actually got the Dalai Lama to write the forward for her book. Now, think about what that's done for her and her credibility, okay? As people read the forward for a book, as they go on to read the rest of the book, subconsciously at least, they're going to associate you with the authority figure that wrote your book. Some of that person's credibility will instantly be transferred to you. And so that's what Tracy did. We had another one, Liz Dunoon. She had 2 kids that had dyslexia. So she wrote a book, pretty simple title, Helping Children with Dyslexia. And she had products that she wanted to sell. So she had products that would help children who had dyslexia. It would help the teachers and parents of children with dyslexia. But of course, she wasn't getting noticed. She couldn't sell this stuff. Who was she to be able to sell this? So she's written a book, which of course has then gained attention, which has positioned her as a go-to authority, which has built that trust and credibility. And she's now been able to sell a whole lot more products. What did she do to help with her credibility? She actually got Richard Branson to write the forward to that book. Now, this is pretty important. If you're going to get someone to write the forward for your book, make sure they're aligned with your subject matter. So Richard Branson suffers from dyslexia, and yet he's become hugely successful despite it. So not only is he the ideal, but I'd actually say the inspirational choice to write the forward for that book. And so we gave her a strategy on how to get to him and how to get him to write the forward. And he rejected initially what she put forward to him. But within 6 weeks, he came back with his own absolutely stunning forward. So you think about what that's done for her book, how she gets credibility, how she gets media attention, how she gets noticed, all because of who wrote the forward for her book. So just something to consider there. whilst we're on myths, another good one is books don't make any money. And this is really important because I'm on this call to tell you how to make a lot of money from this particular marketing tool, okay? Books themselves don't make any money. That is true if you're using a traditional publisher. A lot of traditional publishers these days aren't actually organizing distribution for you, but those who do, they get your book distributed. Whatever the book sells for, you get 5 to 15% of the cover price. And the publisher sets the cover price. So it might not even be what you think it's worth. No, there's not a lot of money to be made there. So a lot of people tried to self-publish, and yes, you do definitely make a lot more money per book when you self-publish, but overall you actually make less money because it's harder to sell books. So many people are stuck with, sheds full of books because they don't know what they're doing. They've got no way of distributing them. Bookstores don't want to take on individual authors. A lot of the distributors won't deal with individual authors. They want to only go through publishers. It becomes a catch-22 situation. So entrepreneurial publishing came about 15, 16 years ago. And it allows you to make large sums of money before your book is even published. And, that's before. I mean, who's ever made money from a product they created before it ever was released to the marketplace? And then you're going to make a lot more once it is, okay? Now, one of the tips, there's a whole lot of things I want to show you. I want to show you a really simple strategy now, and then we're going to look at some AI to do a more complicated strategy. And then there's an even more complicated strategy behind that, which I don't have time to talk about. The really complicated strategies will make hundreds of thousands of dollars before your book is even published. But one of the simplest ones that you can do is just selling advertising in your book. All right. We don't call it advertising. That's the secret to it. If you've only done 150 pages, you don't have much room, and you want to give your readers as much help as you can. So you owe it to them to give them as much access or other avenues they can get more information and assistance. So we actually put a resources section in the back of the book. Now, you and your business are the number one resource. They should be page 1 and 2, okay? That's what we're trying to do and get people to take action. But you could sell other pages in that to complementary businesses, not competitive ones. Now, the life of a book's about 5 years. It gets passed around many, many times. And so you can get a really good price for it. You can charge about the same for a page in a book that they're probably businesses are probably paying for other print media anyway. And I'm talking, you can easily charge $10,000 to $15,000 for a page in a book. And that's what the picture you can see there. That's Sharon Jerd. She's one of our authors. She did that with her first book, How to Grow Your Business Faster Than Your Competitors. And she's generated $40,000 net profit by selling spots at that $10,000 each. So that's $40,000 she made before the book was even printed, and after she's covered all of the cost of printing and hotel stays and travel and everything else. She ran all of the expenses off against it and still netted $40,000. I've done the same with this book. This book only came out a month ago. It's blue background, can't see it. My Authority Influencer Marketing. I generated $40,000 before it even went to print. This is a book, Top Franchise Leaders, CEOs, Secrets Revealed. There's a lot more to this. This is a compilation book, which you could easily do if you want to go and interview other people in your field. He's interviewed 14 people in New Zealand. He's advertised. He's charged them money up front to be included in his book. That book's generated $120,000 before the book was printed, and obviously a hell of a lot more since he's done it. So, look, this can be done very quickly and easily. It's a real easy way to generate good money. And that's the simple part, okay? The real money comes from the back-end products. There's far more potential here than most people ever realize. So people look at the money made from the sale of the book, and now because I've just told you that one tip, you go, and from the advertising sold in the book as well, wow, you could make lots of money. No. The real wealth from a book comes from the credibility and positioning the book gives you and the other sales you make as a result of that. So that's what I was saying before. By driving people from your book to your website, you're actually creating a large database of hot clients. So a number of those are already going to buy what you've already got. So you're increasing the number of sales per year by having these people come to you already ready to buy. But what you find is people who already trust you and see you as the go-to authority, they'll actually buy more from you. So when you've got more to offer, they'll take it. And this is what we want to do. We want to create back-end products to sell off the back of the book. And this is where AI is really going to become our best friend. And this is definitely where you can use ChatGPT. But we'll talk more about ChatGPT in a second, okay? Now, the interesting thing about these back-end products, I should mention, is that when this is done properly, and I'm going to show you how to do it quickly and easily, when it's done properly and you're selling it off the back of your book, many of the businesses are making more money from the back-end product than they are from their actual business, even though they wrote the book to drive people to their business. That's how successful these back-end products can be. So, yeah, as I say, ChatGPT. Look, lots of great ways you can use it. You've probably already covered some of these. ChatGPT is great for getting ideas. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. I'll just mention now that if you're stuck for an idea, if you're completely stuck and you're not quite sure what you want to write a book on, you know what your book's going to be about. It's going to be a business book, but what sort of things could I do? You could ask ChatGPT, what are the 10 top ideas to write about for a business book? Or what are the 10 top marketing techniques for small business? And it will give you those, and then you can look at and see which ones appeal to you, which ones you can personalize. You could put that back into ChatGPT and ask it to expand on that. Write several chapters or several paragraphs or a chapter on this particular topic. Now, don't use it as it is. That just won't work. It's going to be bland and generic. You're going to have to find a way to personalize it. Does it resonate with you? Have you got an experience in your business that you could, make that part of? If not, do you know a friend? You're going to have to find a way to personalize it. That's really important. One of the most successful ways I've seen is if you've got plenty of blog content, if you've got 1, 2, 3 years of blog content, you can actually take all of your blog content, put it into ChatGPT, and then tell ChatGPT to write a book based on that content in the style of that content. Now we're not getting something bland and generic, okay? Now we are getting something that's using your words and hopefully producing it in the style you wanted. Now, as I say, the biggest concerns for me that due to the nature AI, everything it produces pretty much is bland and repetitive. So that's not what you want when you're trying to create something to stand out. You want to make it specific. You want to personalize it, and understand that, as I say, it's artificial intelligence. It's artificial, but it's not intelligent. What it's doing is the algorithms are designed based on probability. So remember predictive text? Remember when you had a phone and you would be typing something and it'd try and predict the next word, and 90% of the time it was wrong, and you just go, geez, this is crap, all right? That once you give them a lot more data sets and you can really refine those algorithms, it gets a lot better at probability. The more experience it has, the better it gets at this stuff. And so that's what I'm saying to you. From predictive text to ChatGPT 3.5 is this major leap, but from 3.5 to 4 is a big leap again. 4 to 5 is another massive leap. So we're going to see this exponentially getting better, but it's taking large amounts of data sets to do it. So the more information you can give, the less assumptions it has to make, and the more accurate it's going to be. But look, I'll show you some other AI tools. That's probably the easiest way to look at it. If you've got a pen, write these down. Some of them Nick may have covered in the past. Some of them he may cover in the future in a bit more detail. But at this stage, I'll just get you to write them down and go look at them in your own time and see what appeals to you. So I spoke about using ChatGPT to help you get ideas. Copycreator.com is a really good one for that, right? Their claim is no longer suffer writer's block or be stuck for ideas. This is really good at creating content idea or specific ideas for specific areas. So if you need content ideas, you can go to one area of this website and get that. If you want content ideas for podcasts, for social media posts, if you want to create a digital course, if you're looking at making a membership site, this has got ways you can click on all of that, and it'll help you at least give you the ideas, if nothing else. Another one similar to that is copy.ai. One I think I have seen Nick cover before is rewind.ai. It used to be scribe.ai. Now, this creates content through screen capture. So any of you that are doing anything on screen anyway, this is a really good way to make personalized content from what you already have really quickly. Beautiful.ai. This is a fantastic one. This is actually creating PowerPoints. So it can create an entire PowerPoint presentation for you. And midjourney.com. I will tell you right now, this is an image creator. It's meant to be the best of the ones out there. The experts in this field are telling me that this consistently produces the best looking AI generated images. I have not tried midjourney.com. I've tried all the other ones, and per my opinion, they all suck. But of course, the reality is it's probably the operator that sucks, and I accept that. It's not something that I'm very, very good at. But the whole point here is you can, if you know that that Otter AI works the way it does, if you do what I told you, you've now created the content for a book. Put that aside. Using otter.ai, you can now talk about something else, something that could complement that book, or something else that could help your customers. And you might get the idea from Copy Creator or copy.ai. And what you can do is you can now put that into ChatGPT, and you can ask ChatGPT to create a course on it or a product from it. It may be a training course. And so you might say, with the content I've just put in there, in the style of writing I have provided, produce a content in 5 sections, and at the end of each section, have a review section or something like that. Then you could go to you can put that same content into beautiful.ai, and it will produce an entire PowerPoint presentation for you with that. And then you could record, just once you're running the PowerPoint presentation, just hit record and talk about it as you're going through those slides. You've now created another product. And if you want pictures to complement that are very specific and that are obviously royalty free and all the rest of it, you could use midjourney.com. Now, I find some of these sites, certainly Midjourney, any of those image creators, I find are a lot of work. They take a lot of time. I'd actually prefer just to go to a freelancer site, freelancer.com, guru.com, upwork.com, fiverr.com, any of those. And there'll be people there that excel at this stuff. So I'd rather pay them, tell them exactly what I want, and let them mess around with it. And if they don't get it quite right, go back to them and say, tweak this and tweak that. So you don't have to do all of this yourself. All right, that's the big thing. The other thing to keep in mind is all of this comes with an absolutely extreme warning. I wish I could put bells and whistles and everything else on that. This, people, is the most important part of the call. Some of you probably know this, but you don't understand the depth of it. Whatever you put into these AI platforms will be hoovered up and used to create content for others. Now, I had no trouble telling you to take all of your blogs and put them in there, because your blogs have been online. They've been available for everyone to see. But if you've got very specific information, or if you've got sensitive information, or if you've got, intellectual property information, I would be very wary of putting it up on any of these AI platforms. Because remember, ChatGPT in particular, this is a Microsoft product. Microsoft's aim is to be the #1 search engine. And so this is part of their journey to get there. They're going to use AI to do that. They need the biggest data set they can possibly get for AI to keep learning, and I use that in inverted commas, at this exponential rate. So they are taking literally everything they can and feeding it in there, including all of your content. And if you're using Outlook, more than likely your emails in and out. Okay, I'm not allowed to say that for legal reasons, but I'm telling you, they are using your emails and everything else that they can get hold of. So those user agreements that none of us read and we all agree to, they're going to get longer and longer and longer as Microsoft says, I want everything you've got, I want access to everything you've got, and I'm going to use it. Now, has this been a problem? It has been a problem for some individuals, but that's not made the media. It has been a major issue for some big companies. Samsung really stuffed up on this without knowing it. So they were trying to use ChatGPT to help them, to help their developmental division. So they had the intellectual property, they had the ideas. They were putting stuff into ChatGPT to either get ideas or just get it to produce written information on that product, whether that was for marketing or for instructions, I don't know. The problem is all of that information is now out there. And if you're a smart person and you know that your competitor is doing something new and you know how to reverse engineer this, you can go and ask ChatGPT very specific questions that it will get the answer for you, but without it not saying it came from Samsung, you will know the only people who could have produced that information are Samsung. So a whole lot of intellectual property, a whole lot of advantage that Samsung had in the game was all lost by having used ChatGPT. This really bit them hard, so much so that absolutely no employee of Samsung is ever to use ChatGPT. As I said at the start of this call, it's affected other big banks as well. There's Deutsche Bank, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, and others who are doing it. A lot of big companies are, their computers and their staff are not allowed to use ChatGPT. So be very, very aware of how you're using it and where. So the two warnings we really want you to be aware of is, don't just put anything into ChatGPT. When it crunches it, send it out, because it's going to be bland, it's going to be repetitive, it's going to be generic, it's actually going to harm your reputation. Not only will you not stand out, you're actually going to take a hit. And if you've got anything of intellectual value or anything you don't want to be shared, be careful putting it in there. Okay. All right, so why do we need back-end or additional products or services? For this simple reason. This whole talk tonight is about wealth generation and using AI to do it, and how to avoid the pitfalls, the danger of AI. So people look at, and you probably were the same before you came on this call, you look at a book as the be-all and end-all. It's information within itself. You read it and you put it down. So if I write a book and I sell it, I make money off that. No, you can see I've got there $0, because I'm quite keen on even giving the book away. If I've written a book specifically for my ideal client and I can get this into their hands for free, and I know the back end's going to generate so much more money, why do I care whether they pay $20, $30, $40 for it? It's absolutely irrelevant, because a number of people who read your book will want more from you, and they'll go on and do a course. Oh, well, how do we do the course, Andrew? Well, through the AI I just showed you, we talked about some of the ways you could quickly and easily produce a course. I don't even bother with that. So things like e-classes, if I've got the content for my book done, using one of those freelancer sites I mentioned to you before, I can just send that content to them and say, make this into 52-week e-classes. And so they'll give me a full year of e-classes using the content of that book. All right. And that will cost me about $300. For an extra $600 or $700, I can say, take the content of that book and create a $3,000 course, and they will do that. So I don't even have to do the work myself. I'm much happier to pay people to do it. But just be aware that these are the things that can be done. So if I was only selling the book for $30, but I can sell a course for $300 or $3,000, can you see, even though not everybody who reads my book is going to go and do the course, and it's going to be an all online course now too, so it's very cheap to distribute, I'm making a lot more money. Then some of those people want more from me. So get them into a live event. It might only be a 1 or 2 hour live event. It might be a half day, a day, 2 days. It doesn't matter. Yes, there's some time and effort and expense involved in running an event. But here's the thing. People will pay good money because they already trust you. You're already credible in their eyes. You're already, in their opinion, the go-to authority. They're happy to pay $1,500, $3,000, $5,000 or more dollars to go to an event and see you in person. And of course, if you video that event, you've now created a video product. So you send that off to these people and get them to make that into another course. And that, once you've got video, of course, we can lift the audio off that. We've now got audio products, audio books. We can have the audio transcribed through otter.ai. We've now got written products. There's a lot that can be done with that. We can make even more e-classes. So now we've got more than a year's worth of e-classes. And because you've been established as the authority, people will pay a lot of money to either get into small group coaching with you or one-on-one. Now, this is the problem I see with most authors. Most authors don't have enough self-belief. They have self-doubt. They just, well, I'm not the expert. Well, in some people's eyes, you must be. You know more than somebody, and that's why you've written a book, okay? Those you know more than, they're the ones who want the answers from you. They trust you. They like your style of writing, which is your style of speaking. They've connected with you. They would be prepared to pay up to $30,000 a year to get coaching from you. Now, and underneath all that, we'll have the membership course running. So look at that. If you had an online membership program, if you had just 100 people in that paying you $97 per month, that's a 6-figure salary, people. That's over $100,000 a year you're making passively, all from having generated a book, the content of which took you 3 to 4 hours talking into bloody otter.ai. Now, I'm going to expand on this slide because I used to show that and think it had the impact that it did on me, but I don't think it does on other people. I need to show you because people get stuck in this mindset. Sell the book, sell the book, sell the book. That's where the money's made. Okay, well, if you sold 1,000 books at $30 per book, how much money have you made? If you said $30,000, you may or may not be right. I'd say you're not right. You've generated $30,000. You certainly haven't made that. There's a substantial expense in getting books created, okay? Getting them printed and distributed and all the rest of it. You're not going to make much money out of 1,000 books, all right? So let's look at this, though. You're going to get those 1,000 books into the hands of certain people. Let's say just 53 people, 53 of those people who read your book. And remember, just because you get 1,000 books out there doesn't mean 1,000 people are reading it. 3, 4, 5, up to 7,000 people could end up reading that book, because that's how many times a book gets passed around, especially these non-fiction type books. If you got 53 members into a monthly e-classes, and I've reduced the price here just to $47 a month, you're still talking about $30,000. And of course, that's nearly all profit. That's the complete opposite of the $30,000 above. There's no cost associated with that. If you got 20 people into a live event at $1,500 each, that's $30,000. Can you see how the numbers are decreasing drastically at each stage here, yet you're making the same money, and you're making far more profit than you ever did from the book? If you sold just 10 product packs, so that's less than one a month at $3,000 each, obviously we can all do the maths on that, $30,000. One person hires you as a personal coach for a year, $30,000. So you're starting to get the idea, people. You're starting to see the maths. Let me go one stage further. I'll really show you this. This is just an example of potential yearly income if you understand your back-end products and you use AI, or you get freelancers to use AI to help you do this, okay? If you got just 100 people accessing e-classes at $47 a month, I've kept it low, and then you got 4 big packs a month, so that's 1 pack a week at $3,000, 2 workshops a year with 10 people at $1,500, 2 coaching clients a year, you're talking about a total of 200 and whatever, I can't see under that, people. I think it's about $293,000. Now, do you notice that the book is not mentioned anywhere there? I've not put money from the book in there because it's irrelevant. The book is just a tool. It's the ultimate marketing and positioning tool that gets you noticed, builds trust and credibility, and establishes you as the authority, and allows you to sell these back-end products, which is what's generating this sort of money. All right, very quickly, let's look at ChatGPT. Basic info you need to know. The limitations are it's highly Americanized. No surprise, it comes from Silicon Valley. I've done this before, but if you were to type in ChatGPT, what's something a typical Australian would say? And this is from Kerry Fitzgibbon. She did this exercise and I love it. The other day I was chockers in a bit of a flap, so I decided to duck into the bottle for a coldie to help me chillax. As I was wandering up and down the aisles trying to decide between a schooner or a slab, I saw a fellow Aussie mate who gave me a friendly g'day. We got to yarning and he said he was heading off to a barbie with his rellos, but he wasn't sure whether to bring his sunnies and his togs or his jumper and his brolly. I told him to pack everything but the kitchen sink. You never know what kind of weather you're going to get these days. He laughed and said, fair dinkum, when we both went on our merry ways. It's bloody ridiculous, right? It's a caricature. It's a comedy act. It is not the sort of content that you want to be providing to your audience. So you've really got to be very specific in what you do with this, and be aware that, like most of this sort of stuff, it's not good for an Australian audience. You may need to tweak it for that reason. It is only as good as the info you give it. Far too few people are putting enough information into ChatGPT, or they're not putting in the right type of information. And what happens then, the algorithm, it has to make assumptions. And once it starts making assumptions, that's when it starts to go off the rail, all right? It's not intelligent. It doesn't understand what the words are. It just understands the probability of that. If Fred was standing beside the river and Mary ran at him very quickly, it's got enough data points to realize the probability is that Mary ends up bumping into him or pushing him into the river. Then it's got enough data points to know that if he goes into the river, he comes out, the highest probability is wet, the next probability is cold. So if you were to set it up and say, Todd and Mary were by a river and Mary was running, it could probably finish that paragraph for you by saying, Mary ran into Todd, knocked him into the river, and he came out wet and cold. Now, here's the whole thing. It doesn't know what Mary and Tom are. It doesn't know what a person is. It doesn't know what a river is. It doesn't know what wet is. It doesn't know what cold is. All it knows on all the data sets it's ever seen before, the probability is with what you asked it, based on everything else it's ever seen, that's probably what you wanted it to write. So give it as much information and as specific information as you possibly can. It does require a lot of work to get the right result. As I said, a certain person on this call who may or may not be wearing a very colourful shirt spent in excess of 10 hours trying to program the write a book plugin in ChatGPT. And at the end of that, he got a very generic and very bland result, which was of no use to his audience. Okay. And it's the same. You may have said, the media has been fantastic at making all the really big claims, all the sensational claims. Someone passed the final exam of a 4-year university course using ChatGPT and they did it in 20 minutes. Yeah, but go and look at the story behind the story, and what's actually happened is it's took them a week. So doing 10 hours a day for 6 to 7 days to keep prompting this thing correctly and to keep getting a response from ChatGPT and then having to tweak that and put it back into ChatGPT so that when they finally push enter at the end of that 7 days, yes, in 20 minutes, it did manage to pass the exam. It's going to get a lot better. It's going to be able to do a lot more in a very, very short space of time. The other limitations I should have mentioned to you earlier, initially, a lot of people were trying to use AI, especially ChatGPT, to create content. The more content you've got on your website, the higher you rank. Google initially came out and said they will penalize you for that. They've since recanted on that. They're not. They're saying if it's as long as it's good quality content, they won't. But you still need to be careful. You don't know when these people are going to change the rules and change them back again. The other classic example, my partner's going through university at the moment. They're using AI to detect AI. So what happens is when you submit a paper, they run it through AI, and if AI detects more than a certain percentage of AI is being used to write your paper, they don't even bother grading it. So AI being able to detect AI is not very good at the moment. It's good enough, but again, it's like everything, it's going to improve in time. So just be aware of that as well. So as I said to you, use it to get ideas. It's really good for that, but make sure you personalize them. Make sure you make it very specific and somehow relevant to you, to your audience. Create content for back-end products. And again, make sure it's very specific to your audience. This is where the real strength of it is. And that's where I see the real money being made in the quality of the back-end product you can create quickly and easily these days. All right, very quickly, you've got to know how to put a prompt into ChatGPT. It has 2 key components, the context and the task. You can get this off the ChatGPT website, so go and have a look at that. The context is the background for the task. The task is the action you want the AI to take. And so look at this for specificity, right? Design a training plan for an attacking midfielder to train for 5 days a week. Can you see how that's very different to give me a training program or give me a training program for a soccer player? Look how specific this is. We don't want it, too few days is not effective enough, and too many days we're going to burn them out. So we want to know, we want to go on for 5 days. So that's going to determine like the strength or ferocity of the training you're going to give us. So very specific, a training plan for an attacking midfielder to train for 5 days a week. Goes on to say, make 30 unique plans that are fun and engaging, include both soccer skills and fitness training. Incredibly specific. There's not too much for AI to have to assume there, so it's going to come up with some great results. The ones that aren't quite right, you can tweak them. You can just put that, you copy and paste that little bit that's not quite right, put it back into ChatGPT and ask it to refine that or expand on that, or, you know, the more specific you are, the better off you are. As I said to you, look, ultimately, the real money is made from the products and services you offer through your website, all right? The whole point is we're using the book to get people's attention, to build your trust and credibility, and create a list of pre-qualified and hot buyers who already accept you as the expert in your field because of your book. And then we're going to your website, they're going to buy more of what you already have, and then you're going to sell them these back-end products you're going to create. And this is the beauty of the back-end product. You do not have to create it first, all right? Let's get the book out there. Let's build this following, and then let's ask them what they want. In most cases, they'll tell you, have you got more? Okay, well, what are you after? and they will tell you. Or you could come up with a couple of ideas. You could use ChatGPT to come up with a few ideas, and you can send them out to your list now, and you'd say, which one of these products would you like to see first? And when they tell you, you can then go and create it. You've already know exactly how many people want to buy it. Far too often I see businesses creating some product that there's no market for. We can avoid that by doing it this way. I want to show you one real quick example, then we've got to move through this. This is Conrad Bobolak. Some of you have seen me talk about him before. Amazing guy, love him to death, good mate of mine now. Look, he came to our workshop without an established business. Now, he was working for the National Australia Bank at the time, so he didn't have a business. He had no concept of a business. He didn't have premises. He didn't even have a business name, right? He had nothing. So he's come along. He's learned about the game behind the game, which I haven't got time to talk about now. That's the next level again. He understood the potential of it. And so he decided he wanted to have his ultimate lifestyle. He wanted to work where he wanted, when he wanted. But the idea was to pay himself $1 million a year. Now, he'd never earned anything like that before. So he created this book, Crafted Australian Property Finance Made Simple. It became an instant bestseller. And whenever I mention bestseller, people, I'm talking about a genuine, bona fide bestseller. Do not use the words Amazon bestseller to me. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything anywhere. It doesn't even mean anything to Amazon. Amazon just use it to help sell more of a particular book at a particular time, okay? If you want to know how little it actually means, I know a guy who, to prove the point, he made a one-page book, a single-page book. He sold 3 copies in 5 minutes, and he got the Amazon bestseller stamp as a result of that. So it's absolutely nothing. This became a genuine best-selling book. He went and created a website and a YouTube channel. Now, I said here to, designed to attract the ideal client. It wasn't. The book attracts the ideal client. That's the whole point. But it attracted more than just the ideal client. It doesn't just attract prospects, it also attracts rejects, right? It's people who are genuinely interested in what you're saying and what you're doing, but they're not the people you want to waste your time on. So his website and his YouTube channel actually got rid of the rejects, and he wasn't wasting his time on the wrong people. Now, using this book, he has created a company from nothing. It is genuinely paying him $1 million a year, and it has done for many years now. And to this day, he has not spent one single dollar on advertising the business. Not one. Okay, so he spent a lot of money promoting his book because the book is what gets him the prospects, but he's never, ever had to spend a dollar advertising his business. Now, that last point on the slide there is absolutely fascinating because he has more work than he can handle, and 2 of his mates in the same industry were struggling. So he gave them everything. He said, look, here's how to make this book quickly and easy. This is how to create a book in half a day. This is who you should use to get it all published and done. This is what should happen. And then here, this is who you use to create the website. Here's his name. Here's who I use for my accountant. Here's who I use for my solicitor. Here's all a copy of the contracts. Do everything the way I did it. And they did everything the way he did it, except for one thing, and they went broke. They're now working for other people. And I'm sure you can all guess what the one thing was. They didn't do the book. Step number 1, they didn't do the book. So this has been such a success for Conrad that he already knew the book was the be-all and end-all. But he said if you ever wanted, nail in the coffin proof, the absolute final proof that it's the book that makes all the difference, these guys copied every single thing he did, but they didn't do the book and they went broke. Okay. So look, to wrap it all up, what I'm trying to get at, hopefully I've changed your mindset around this. Most of you look at a book as the be-all and end-all, as written information, easily disseminated, and once you finish, you put it away. It's done and dusted. That's how 99% of everyone looks at books. That's how 99% of authors approach books. What I'm saying to you is that's just the very tip of the iceberg. A book done properly does so much more. It develops your personal brand. It establishes you as the authority, gets you expert status in the mind of your ideal client. It gives you so much content that can be taken out of that to produce other products, to produce media, for social media, for traditional media, for so many things. It builds that list of hot buyers I mentioned to you, people who already trust you and want, they understand you're the authority and want more from you. It gives you speaking opportunities. A lot of people will pay big money to have the authority speak on their stage. Gives you mountains of press and media. I haven't got time tonight to cover some of those examples, but we've had authors literally gain like $500,000 worth of free press and media that they openly admit, even if they tried to pay for it, they couldn't get it. It's only the book that opened that door for them. Joint ventures, you'd be surprised at what sort of people will approach you once you're an author and wanting to deal with you. It increases your value, builds confidence. So we're not just building confidence in the customer. Yeah, sure, the customer is now confident to purchase from us, but because you've had that self-doubt, and because completing a book in itself is quite, a personal development story, you start believing yourself, especially when these people start saying, thank you so much, thank you for having told that story, thank you for, and then they want to buy more from you. It builds your confidence. And the more confident you get in business, the more successful you get. And the more successful you get in business, the more it helps your confidence, and so on. Opens doors you never saw coming. Haven't got time to talk about that. Leverages your time better than any other product I've ever come across. And of course, builds wealth, especially with those back-end products. How do I know all this? Because we've been doing this for 15 years. We've helped literally thousands of authors. We've produced hundreds and hundreds of books. We've produced, as a percentage of authors published in this country, we've produced the highest number of best-selling authors. And as I say, genuine, bona fide authors, not bloody Amazon bestsellers. We've produced tons and tons of print media, online, offline, radio, TV, everything, every type of media you can imagine. The amount of companies or businesses that were suffering and couldn't get noticed that now get all of this free media as a result of having a book has been staggering. So all I'm asking is, what would it do for your business? What would it mean having your book on the bookshelves on actual bookstores here and overseas? Now, for some people, overseas doesn't count, but if you were to walk into a bookstore and you saw your book on the shelf, what would that do for your business? More importantly, how would that make you feel? Well, I can help with that, because we have all the systems for success, the tips, techniques, and insider secrets, all of the industry contacts. And as I say, we've been doing it for 15 years. And what I'm doing is I'm running a how to write a bestseller and grow your brand. It's a workshop, right? This is not a pitch fest. It's a 3-day event. It's a unique 3-day event. There is no one else doing anything like this. There's plenty of people out there trying to show you how you could write a book or how you could self-publish it. No one is showing you the full strategy to create a book, to have quickly and easily, to create the back-end products, to create the game behind the game, which I haven't had a chance to talk about, and to distribute. This is the whole point. No one else is offering distribution. You need to get this out. What's the point of having a book if you can't get it out to the ideal client? So we have distribution, both nationally and internationally. So we talk about this in great detail, and we actually workshop with you. So it's not just me talking for 3 days straight. You'll break up into groups and work on ideas. And then my team and I go around and work with you individually. And we're going to help you come up with the correct concept. If you're like Conrad, you don't even have a business idea, we can help you with that. We've helped people monetize life experiences, hobbies. We've got an artist, a woman who left corporate world to teach people how to do paintings. She's got a 7-figure business as a result of her book. So we'll work with you on that sort of stuff. We show you the science behind the front cover and the rear cover, what it actually takes to get a bestseller. There is a definite science behind it. We're going to cover that detail. We'll help you on the bullet points, etc. you need for the back of it. We'll help you with the skeleton of it. So at the end of this, you're going to walk away with enough that you could just go out and easily, using otter.ai, come up with all of the content for your book very quickly and easily, and know so much more about the industry, know how to work smarter, not harder, and know how to succeed, especially with these back-end products. We'll show you the game behind the game, the business you can make. That's coming up very shortly, only 2.5 weeks away, 13th, 15th of October at Voco, beautiful venue in the city, North Quay, Brisbane, CBD. So general entry tickets for that are $97 for all 3 days. We don't cater lunch, but we do cater morning and afternoon tea. So it's finger foods, teas and coffees all laid on. We'd encourage you to do that, but I've made this offer to Nick's group before. Nick said had to do it again. Completely understand. The gold ticket will give you this 130-page workbook. It's a thick workbook. It's got everything in it you already need. You don't bring computers, you don't bring tablets, you don't bring loose papers. You can fill everything you're going to come up with into the inside of this book, and a lot of content that you need already in there. It's almost $2,000 worth of bonuses, genuine bonuses, not some cheap crap we've just tried to shove in there to make this sound. We've got a lot of feedback from previous authors, people on the course, Nick Crave being one of them. He can tell you They're genuinely very well received bonuses. And the gold ticket actually allows you to bring a friend. What we find is because we turn the whole publishing industry on its head, because we explain so much, and because we show the game behind the game, because we show the money and the business that you can be making, a lot of business partners are lost. When you go back and try and explain it to them, they weren't there and they're lost. So if you've got a business partner, bring a partner. If you've got a life partner who would benefit, bring that. If you've got a friend who would benefit from it, you can do that with a gold ticket. Now, the gold ticket is genuinely $297. You can go onto the website yourself and find out. What the offer we made before, and Nick's insisted we offer it again. We will, for people watching this webinar, whether it's live now or the recording, but you've got a limited time to do it because the seats are genuinely limited. Because it's a workshop and we have to work with people, we've already got this pretty much filled. This is our second last hurrah. We'll do this webinar and then one more, and then we're shutting it off. So instead of $297, if you buy off this webinar, you will get the gold ticket for the general entry ticket price, which is phenomenal value. $97 for the full 3 days, 130-page workbook, almost $2,000 worth of bonuses, and bring a friend for free. So that's the URL. We'll put that into the chat box shortly, and you'll be able to click on that and go and have a look. There's more information on there. But as I say, seats are strictly limited. We really have been filling this. We're quite happy with the way it's gone. Nick, I'm still grateful you've given us the chance to promote this here. There's a lot more we want to talk about AI as well. And if you've got any questions, we'll talk about them shortly. I'll just say that this has our money back satisfaction guarantee. I don't know anyone else that offers that. You don't have to prove anything. At the end of 3 days, if you walk up to me and say, Andrew, I didn't get value out of that, I will return you $97. Okay, no questions asked. So I probably will ask. I'd like to know why you didn't get value, because in the 15 years this has been running, no one has ever taken this up. We intend to under-promise and over-deliver, and we will over-deliver. So I'll stop sharing the screen there. And we got that in the chat box that we put in the URL there. Yep, the URL's gone in. Thank you, Lorena. I'll just throw it in as well. And any questions, Nick, that I've missed as we've been going through it? Sorry, that was all very quick, people, but we've got a lot to get through in a short time. I think I've run over time as well. I do apologise. I thought that was right on time.
I think you ran over time because I gave you such a long introduction there.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, there's a few questions on the way through, but I think you answered most of them on the way through there. So it was all good. Good on you, Joe. So Joe's in. One thing I would say is that weekend, I remember when I went along to it, and you'll remember this, Andrew, I didn't expect I'd be sort of doing anything about writing a book. In fact, I was sitting on my phone. Andrew thought that I was the rude guy in the front
yeah,
the back
that's
there,
true. Yeah.
sitting on the phone there. But what he didn't know was I was taking notes, and I was furiously taking notes on my phone. And at the end, I just couldn't help myself. So in the midst of writing a book with Global Publishing now, so I highly recommend it. Information itself is just really good, and you really truly walk away with the whole structure to write a book. So I couldn't believe the value they gave you. Like, you gave it all away at that 3 days. So well worth going.
Well, there's nothing I can't stand and I've just done one recently. You go along to those courses, and usually you pay a hell of a lot more money than that, and they promise so much and they deliver so little. So no, we make sure we give you absolutely everything we can in that 3 days, so that there's enough that people can go right way and do this themselves if they want to. So as you say, a lot of people find that hard to believe, but that's what we're here to do. This is a life transforming moment, and it's got to be done correctly, because there are too many charlatans out there showing you the wrong way. All right. Okay, will we be making another date? Yeah, look, great question. We're trying to work out a way to do this. Our biggest problem is that we can only run this once, sometimes twice a year. We can't really travel around with this. We used to have people coming from all around the world to do this prior to COVID. Even since COVID, we've still had people coming, usually from New Zealand and stuff. We get people. Look, we understand the timing's not brilliant. We understand that we've left this pretty late to make the pitch, but we've only got a few seats left. Next year, there'll be something going on next year, Enza, but I don't have those dates for you at this stage. But through Nick, we'll certainly keep people informed.
All right, there's another question there. Someone says, Anna, I'm at the link. My gold ticket shows at full price. What you need to do is just go for the $97 one. You'll automatically get upgraded to the $297. That's right, Andrew?
That's correct. So look, this isn't something we normally offer. So we've done this for Nick's group, but because when we did this the first time, he sort of put me on the spot. So I hadn't set the website up for that. So yes, all you've got to do is purchase the general entry ticket. I think it's called a silver ticket, and we will automatically upgrade you to gold. That'll be done. You'll receive an email to state that next week. We won't get anything to you this week, but before the event, you'll know exactly all the details, and you'll know that you've been upgraded to gold. You won't receive anything until you get to the event. Once you get to the event, you'll get the workbook and then the bonuses and everything else. So, Enzo, you are able to contact me personally if you go to, well, actually, that website will be fine. If you go to that link, go to the link we put up there. There's contact details there for you to get to me. So happy to talk to you directly. Yep, thanks, Gordon. He's saying he's done the course with Andrew, and it is all and more than promised. Yeah, it's good to have you on board, Gordon. In fact, yeah, your book cover is in the process of being done right now. So good to see you on the call, buddy. I know you've heard this talk a few times, but thank you, everyone, and very grateful to have had the chance to talk to you. Sorry I ran over time.
All right, well, we've got one other thing to do. I know some people need to get away. We do have a door. Oh, do we have a door prize tonight?
Yes, I have. Well, I haven't spoke to you about it, but yeah, how about we give one of the tickets away for free then? How's that? Give a gold ticket, $297. And I'll tell you what, Nick, as well, I'll throw in Authority Influencer Marketing book for free. So if they turn up, they'll get a $30 book for free as well.
Fantastic. All right, well, let's spin the wheel. I know there's a few people that are booking and wanting to go. Let's spin the wheel, and let's see if we get give away a free ticket with that book as well too. And we've got all of your names in the wheel. Remember, you need to be in the room to win as well. And our lucky winner is Louise Calvert. Are you here, Louise? Let's unmute yourself. Tell me that you're here.
Hello, yes, I'm here.
Excellent. Well, you are our lucky winner tonight.
Wow, thank you.
Oh, well, there's I'm sure there's a book in you, isn't there, Louise?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
In fact, I know there is. So, all right. Well, you've got a free ticket to come along to this event. Highly recommended. And you get the book that Andrew has just published as well. I think Andrew might even sign it too, will you? He didn't.
Well, there's an even added bone. Well, geez, you're really dropping me in and out. Yes, I certainly would, Louise. And good on you. You and 82% of the entire population have a book in you. So there you go. So
yeah, absolutely. Stuff. Thank you very much.
No,
much appreciated.
Excellent. All right. Well, look, it just leaves me to say thank you once again, Andrew, for coming on tonight. You've over-delivered tonight. I've picked up some new AI tools. So you've obviously done some work there to find some tools that not even I've sort of managed to ferret out. So that's going to take me down that rabbit hole of procrastination. So looking at those, I should be writing my book, but I'll be looking at those tools. For those that have enjoyed tonight, if you know someone else that would enjoy listening to this, this will be up on our YouTube channel tomorrow. So if you go to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe and click that little bell that is beside the subscribe button. If you're not a subscriber already, then you'll get a notification when that's up and about. We'll drop the link to our YouTube channel into chat very shortly. Next week, we'll be back here again next week as well too. Obviously, the announcements for these things and all of those cool online tools that I had at the beginning, we will put those up in the Business Owners Smashing It Online Facebook group. So if you're not a member of that Facebook group, go to Facebook, go and join that, and that's where all the goodness and gold is. And you can go and introduce yourself in there and find out who else is in there that you know as well too. Just wondering whether we can get that YouTube channel link up into chat as well. So you've got that.
While you're waiting for that, Nick, I don't know if you've been following, but Azim started a funny little thread there. So because you can get the gold ticket brings someone along for free, he's decided that he's going to be Louise's best friend, and someone else is beating to it. So that's been quite entertaining watching the threads on the side there. So thank you, everyone. You made my night.
There you go.
Well, maybe we need to spin the wheel to see who Louise's best friend's going to be.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. So the link to the YouTube channel is in chat, and the link to Business Owners Smashing It Online is in chat as well too. And we'll drop that link in again to book in for the 3-day event as well too. That's in chat as well too. Now is a great time to save the chat. So all of those links there, you can got those. So if you go to the bottom of the chat, click those 3 little dots, save that to your computer, and then you've got all of those links to be able to click through, and so you don't have to jot them down to remember them. All right. Oh, look at that. Anna Fox is going to bring us Zooms. Fantastic. Excellent. Zoom, you've got sort of a few people that are happy to bring you along there. So you thought you had no friends, but you've got lots of friends now. So
and I've got all these friends and I don't even have the ticket. Look, can I just add something for 30 seconds before we head off? I actually had this book done about 9 years ago, which, just to Andrew's point, I never sold a copy of it. I self-published it, and I only ever used it to generate leads. And it would go to prospects. My accountant had it. People would get it from him, and it was like it was a $34 price, but I never intended to selling it. And I can rightfully say it's probably generated well over $500,000 worth of leads in the years that I've had it.
Well done. Great.
So, by the way, Andrew, it's time to do a new one because I've got a whole new thing, so we need to talk, right?
Yeah, definitely. And look, we'll just finish up by saying you're not alone. So you've done phenomenal results out of it. The average in Australia, it's just over 98% of all authors sell less than 200 books.
Yeah.
We're the complete, we organise, we usually sell thousands of our authors' books. So but you have still been able to generate a huge result. So yeah, well done. Congratulations. And you took this step and did it yourself. I'm really proud of you. Well done.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, this has been a longer session than normal, but it's been sort of action-packed as well too, both in the chat and on screen. So yeah, once again, thanks, Andrew, for coming along tonight. And I, for one, look forward to turning up to that event on the day as well too, on the weekend. And for everyone else, if you'd like to book in, just remember the link is in chat, and you'll get that gold ticket for the silver price. Apart from that, we'll be back here next week, same time, same place. So have a sensational week, and we'll see you back again. Have a good night.